A young woman buys her dream home for $40,000. She can't wait to move in and start living there. But then she notices something strange about one of her neighbors. Our story begins with a young woman named Amelia who is buying her first house for a really good deal. She lives in a major city where real estate prices are extremely high. However, she manages to find a house on the outskirts of the city that's being sold for just $40,000. The catch is that it's an old and run-down house that needs a lot of work. But Amelia doesn't mind because she's more than happy to put in the sweat equity to make the place livable, and she can't wait to finally have a place of her own after years of renting. As she's preparing to move in, though, she meets one of her new neighbors, a man named Harold. Harold is an elderly gentleman who lives in the house next door to Amelia. He's a bit of a recluse and doesn't talk much, but he does offer to help Amelia carry some of her boxes into the house. As they're chatting, Amelia learns that Harold has lived in his house for almost 30 years. And when she asks him why he's moving out, he just tells her that it's time for a change. He says that he's tired of the same four walls and that he wants to try something new. Amelia thinks this is just a polite way of saying that he's downsizing, so she doesn't think much of it. After everything is moved in, Amelia decides to take a walk around the neighborhood. She wants to get to know her new surroundings and meet some of the other neighbors. As she's walking, she notices that Harold's house is boarded up, and there's a sign on the front door that says "Gone Fishing." This is odd, because she thought Harold was the one who was moving out. So, where did he go? Amelia shrugs it off and continues on her walk. The next day, Amelia is inside her house when she hears loud banging coming from next door. She goes to the window to see what's going on and sees a group of police officers and paramedics surrounding Harold's house. There are also several people standing around watching what's happening. One of the officers notices Amelia looking and motions for her to come over. When she asks what's going on, the officer tells her that they were called to do a wellness check on the resident, Harold. He'd been missing for several days, and they were concerned about his well-being. "We haven't been able to get in touch with him. His phone has been disconnected, and we haven't seen him since last week," the officer explains. "I was starting to get worried, so I called the police. I didn't know what to do." "Well, we appreciate your concern, ma'am, but unfortunately, Mr. Williams hasn't done anything wrong," the officer says. "He's perfectly capable of taking care of himself, and we can't force our way into his house if he doesn't want us to." Amelia is confused. If Harold was missing, why wouldn't they be able to find him? And why did they need to do a wellness check in the first place? Before she can ask any questions, though, the officer leaves to go back to his cruiser. As the days go by, Amelia starts to notice some strange things happening next door. She often sees lights on at night in Harold's house, even though she knows he's not there. Sometimes she hears what sounds like shouting or screaming coming from inside the house. And once she even saw what looked like a dark shadow moving behind one of the upstairs windows. At first, she tries to ignore these strange occurrences, but they're becoming more and more frequent, and she's starting to get worried about her neighbor. One day, while Amelia is at work, she comes home to find a police car parked in front of Harold's house. She's immediately worried that something bad has happened and runs over to see what's going on. To her surprise, she finds out that the police were called again, but this time it was because someone reported hearing gunshots coming from Harold's house. "We investigated, and it turns out that he's fine. Just a bit of target practice," the officer tells her. "Don't worry, ma'am. We'll keep an eye on things here." Amelia is confused and concerned. Why would Harold be shooting a gun inside his house? What is he hiding? She decides that she needs to get to the bottom of this and find out what's really going on next door. The following weekend, Amelia decides to throw a party and invites all of her new neighbors, including the mysterious Harold. She wants to get to know them better and create a sense of community in the neighborhood. However, when the time comes for the party, Harold is nowhere to be found. Amelia is disappointed that he couldn't make it, but she understands that he may be busy. As the night wears on, Amelia starts to feel like there's something strange going on next door. She can hear what sounds like heavy footsteps and voices coming from Harold's house. It's odd, because she thought he was the only one living there. Who else could it be? Determined to find out what's going on, Amelia gets a flashlight and creeps around to the backyard of Harold's house. She peers over the fence and sees the shocking sight of a man covered in blood. The man seems to be injured and is holding his arm, which is bleeding profusely. In his panic, he accidentally drops a gun and it makes a loud clattering sound. Startled by the noise, the man quickly picks up the gun and runs inside the house. Just as quickly as the commotion started, everything goes silent. Amelia is shocked by what she just saw and wonders who the man was and what he was doing in Harold's backyard. Was he injured because of the gun? Why was he covered in blood? And what was he doing in Harold's backyard in the first place? The next day, Amelia is still thinking about the man she saw in Harold's backyard when she hears a knock at the door. She opens it to find 2 police officers standing there. They ask if she's Amelia, and when she says yes, they tell her they need to ask her some questions about a missing person. You see, we've been looking for a man named Harold. He's reported missing, and we believe he may have been involved in an altercation with this individual, one of the officers explains. And based on the evidence we found in his house, we believe he's still there. Startled, Amelia realizes that the man she saw in the backyard must have been Harold. But how could he be missing if he was right there in her backyard? Confused and scared, Amelia leads the officers into her backyard, and they search everywhere for signs of Harold. However, they don't find anything except for some footprints in the soft dirt. The police eventually give up their search and leave, but not before telling Amelia that she should keep an eye out for Harold and to call them if she sees him. Amelia is shaken by the events that have transpired, but determined to find Harold, she decides to take matters into her own hands. With the help of some of her other neighbors, Amelia sneaks into Harold's house through a window. Inside, they find signs of a struggle, but no sign of Harold. However, when they look in the basement, they find a locked metal box. They don't know the combination, but they're determined to find out. They manage to pry open the box and find Harold inside. He's weak and injured, but alive. They rush to his aid and call for help, as Harold tells them that he's been held captive in the house and that the man she saw in the backyard is his captor. The police arrive and arrest the man, who turns out to be Harold's brother. He confessed that he kidnapped Harold because he was jealous of the house and wanted it for himself. Harold was only taken to the hospital for treatment for his injuries and is now living with Amelia until he can find a new place to live. Amelia is hailed as a hero for saving Harold's life, and the two become close friends. As for the house, it was eventually torn down and a new one built in its place.